What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And we're going to continue the series of iPhone reviews with the iPhone 13. There's a bit of a difference between the iPhone SE that we had previously reviewed and the iPhone 13. And the most pronounced difference with this one is it does not have a home button. So for those of you that are more for the newer phones without home buttons, this is the phone for you. But before we get into the review and the physical description of this phone, I would first like to encourage you to, if you have not already subscribed to the channel, to please do so. And definitely give this video a thumbs up and a like, because that's how we get these videos out there to all of you guys, the YouTube audience. So let's talk a little bit about the different models of the iPhone 13 first, before we really get into the physical description of what this phone actually looks like. So there are many different models of the iPhone 13, starting out with the iPhone 13 mini. Then we have the regular iPhone 13, which is what I'm going to be reviewing today, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. All of these phones come in various different storage sizes as well. Now, one of the things that threw me off when I was going to purchase the iPhone 13 is you don't get a 64 gig option anymore. It starts out right away with 128 gigs. And it goes up from about an $800 price tag for the regular, starting price for the regular 13, and the iPhone 13 mini is a little cheaper than that. I think it's about $600 or so dollars. And then each model you go up, each storage model you go up, it is more. So we start out with 128 gig storage. We go from 128 to 256, and from 256 all the way up to 512 gigabyte storage capacity, and then all the way up to a terabyte of storage. Now, I'd be curious to see in the comment section below what storage all of you guys prefer. What do you use your phone's storage capacity more for? Do you download videos and music? Do you have photos on your phones? What types of things do you use your phones for the most for your storage capacity? Because like I said, these phones have an extremely large storage capacity, which is shocking. Some of the older phones like the 12 series does as well, but it's crazy how much storage these phones have and how much they can actually store on them. It's basically like you're pretty much carrying a full-size computer around with you storage-wise. But let's get into the physical description of this phone. And this is the regular 13. This is not the 13 mini or the 13 Pro or 13 Pro Max. This is the regular 13. And going from the bottom of the phone up, like I said before in the beginning of the video, there is no home button. So things change a little bit, especially if you are someone that is so used to having a home button. I remember my first iPhone without a home button was all the way back to the XS Max, and it was definitely a transition. And if anybody really wants me to do videos, a different series of videos with regards to the iPhone, with the transitions that you have to go through when you're going from a home button iPhone that you've been using for so many years to one without a home button, definitely drop a comment down below and let me know, because that would be a worthwhile series to do. So going from the bottom up of this phone, like I said, there is no home button. It is just straight screen from the bottom all the way up to the top. And that might throw people off a little bit, because if you get one of these phones for the first time, it's like, what is this? There's no home button, so how do I do things? So Like I said before, drop a comment down below and let me know if you wanted me to do a series of videos about how to do things with a phone with a home button and a phone without a home button. So, like I said, this is all just straight flat screen. There's nothing here. If we go up to the top of the phone, which we'll talk about in a second, there's really not much there either. But let's talk about the bottom of the phone first. On the bottom left side of the phone, we have the first speaker grill. And then if we go a little to the right, there's the microphone. And then to the right, once again, we have the slit for the Lightning iPhone charger. And then to the right of that on the bottom, once again, we have the other speaker grill. And if we work our way to the left side of the phone, we have once again the volume rockers, which of course control many, many different things, as many of you know, and we've talked about this in other videos as well. They control your media volume for videos and music, but they also control your ringtone volume as well. And if we go above the volume rockers, we have the mute switch. All of these phones have mute switches on them, and they do a world of good, because if you want to put your phone on ringer or silent, you can do that. If we go towards the top of the phone, there is no little pronounced slit for the earpiece. Remember, this is all straight screen on this phone. This phone looks much, much different than the iPhone 11, for example, where you had a little notch on the top of it. This phone does not have that. This is all straight screen, and this phone does not have a case on it right now either. So that's a little bit concerning at the moment, but because I'm doing a review, I have the case taken off of it so that I can really, really give you an in-depth review of this particular device. One thing that they have changed on this particular phone is where the SIM tray slot is, and it's on the bottom left of this phone. So you will need either a safety pin or a SIM eject tool to get the SIM card out of this particular phone. So just be aware of that when you're going through this, is that it looks like the SIM hole is on the opposite side. But like I said before, this phone is on the bottom to the top is just straight screen. We do, of course, have a front-facing camera on this particular phone as well. And this camera, of course, for those of you that do take pictures and videos, does a great job of doing so. And if we work our way completely up to the top of this phone and go around the back to the bottom of the phone, we have two circles, and these are the dual cameras on the back of the phone. So if anybody hasn't seen one of these phones for the first time, you do have two dual cameras on the back of this phone. And of course, on the right-hand side, you have the lock, unlock, and power button. This phone is glass on the front and the back, which means it can also wirelessly charge. So if you are someone that prefers a wireless charger over plugging the phone into a standard Lightning cable, or in this case, all of them are fast charging now, so it makes it much quicker to charge your phone. But if you do prefer wireless charging, this phone does definitely wireless charge as well. So this phone, of course, like I said, comes in sizes of small to extremely large, and so many different storage models. Now, to finally close this out, what I want to do is I want to talk about how to unlock this phone for the first time, because it's different and you actually need to do something a little bit different. But before I do that, I'm going to put the case back on, because I typically don't like using my phones without a case. So let me do that right now. Let me put the case back on here, and unlock the phone for you. So, like I said before, on the right side, we have the lock unlock power button, and I'm going to press it. But before I do that, I just want to remind and make it aware to everybody that this phone does not have Touch ID. So if you are someone that still prefers Touch ID, maybe the SE 2022, third generation, or an 8 series iPhone might be a better version for you to get. But if you are someone that prefers Face ID, then this would be the phone for you to get. So I am going to hit the lock unlock button right now. 1:23 p.m. Now it says the time. So because there's no home button, we have to do something a little different. We have to swipe up with one finger for those of you that are using VoiceOver to unlock this phone. So we're going to do that. Oh, it locked again. So we're going to swipe up with one finger. And when you hear those little clicks, that means that we have to enter the passcode. So I'm going to pause the video for a second. All right, so I have entered my passcode to unlock this phone. So this phone is now unlocked. I don't have Face ID enabled. However, like I said before, if this is something that you prefer to have enabled, you can definitely do that. You can have Face ID to unlock this phone so you do not have to enter your passcode. But remember, if you are someone that is a VoiceOver user, you now have to swipe up with one finger until you hear the screen click in order to be able to get to that lock screen, to be able to get into that area, and either use Face ID to unlock your phone or enter your passcode. So this phone is now at the unlocked screen. We are now at the home screen, and because we already did a brief exploration of some of the stock apps during our previous review, we're not going to do that today. However, what I would like to show you, and we may do another series on some of this as well, is if you accidentally open something. If you were following along with me yesterday during the previous video that we had done, and you were not on an SE 2022 and you were using a newer phone, I want to show you how to get to the home screen. So let's say that you had opened up the calendar. I'm going to open up the calendar by double tapping on the screen. Actually, I opened up the phone app. So I opened up the phone app, and let's say that I did not want to do that. Now, this phone does not have a home button. So like I said before, if you were following along with me during the previous video and you were on a phone without a home button, this is your first iPhone, and you had opened up an app by mistake, you double tapped on it as we were kind of cycling through some of the stock apps on the phone. I'm going to show you how to get back to the home screen because it's a little different. So what we're going to do is, because there is no home button on this phone, we're going to swipe up less than an inch about from the bottom of the screen until we hear VoiceOver click. So let's do that now. And what that does is it takes us out of that app and brings us back to the home screen. Another thing that I want to show everybody before we close this video out is, let's say you opened up an app by mistake and you want to close the app. Because there's no home button, we have to access the app switcher just a smidge more differently. So what we have to do now is we have to swipe up with one finger, and we're going to listen to VoiceOver for those of you that are VoiceOver users. If you're a sighted user and you use your phone without VoiceOver, of course, the way that you do things is going to be a little bit different. So let's listen to what VoiceOver does. We're going to swipe up with one finger, and we're going to listen to VoiceOver click because we want to swipe up towards the middle of the screen. So let's do that. So we are now in the app switcher. So let's say that we mistakenly opened the phone app, which we did. Now the same method to closing an app is exactly the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold three fingers together and we're going to swipe up to close the phone app. Now, we need to get back to the home screen. So what we need to do is we need to do the exact same thing we just did. Is we need to swipe up from the bottom of the screen just a little bit to get back to the home screen. Now, we are now back on the home screen of this phone. One final thing that I want to mention before we close this video out is that I'm sure there's questions. I'm sure there's things about, okay, I just got this phone for the first time. I have never used an iPhone before in my life, and I have a phone with no home button on it. Or I have had a phone with a home button on it, but I don't know how to access Siri. I don't know how to turn VoiceOver on and off if you're a VoiceOver user. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to do those things. So the side button, the lock-unlock button, now has another function. If we hold this in, we have now activated Siri, and it's probably not going to respond to me very well. And if I let go of the side button,
I'm sorry.
now it can't. It thinks that we said something that we weren't supposed to. So just to review that again, if you hold the side button down, if you have Siri turned on, it activates Siri, and if you let go of it and you press in on it to get out of it again, it will disengage Siri. So just because you don't have a home button does not mean that you can't use Siri. I'm sure there's so many of you watching this video right now wondering, how do I access Siri? If you have Siri turned on and you have Siri set up, the side button now becomes how you access Siri. And the last thing that I want to mention is that if you ever get stuck, in a situation where you are not able to get out of something, always go to the home screen. Always remember that you can swipe up just a little bit from the bottom of the screen and it will always take you back to your home screen, which I'm going to do again just to make sure that we're back on the home screen. And VoiceOver said home. So you can still do many things that you used to be able to do without a home button. And of course, drop a comment down below and let me know if you want me to do a comparison series, like I said, of trying to do things on a phone with a home button and doing things on a phone without a home button. Because like I said in the beginning of the video, my first experience with an iPhone without a home button was with the XS Max. And honestly, when I locked my screen like I'm going to do now, I couldn't get the phone unlocked. I had to actually look it up on the internet. So if anybody wants me to do a series of videos with doing things without a home button and with a home button, definitely drop a comment down below and that's something we can do. But that's it for today. I hope that everybody enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like this video as well. Give it a thumbs up because that's how we get the word out. And if you have any questions that you want to ask me directly, definitely drop a comment down below and I will try and respond to comments as quickly as I can. But definitely don't be afraid to ask those questions in the comments because either I can answer them or another subscriber can answer them. But always remember, your questions matter. Don't be afraid to ask a question on anything that I've covered so far in this channel. And if there's something that is really, really popular that you want me to revisit, we can definitely do that. Peace, and until next time, everybody, take care.